Welcome guys, in this video we're going to talk about upcasting. In other words, treating a derived object like the parent object. Okay, so type using system. Okay, and now namespace sample, that's sufficient. But in here we're going to make a class person. We'll add a couple private fields, so private string SSN and then private decimal here salary, like that. So regardless of who you are, you very likely have a salary of some kind and a social security number, especially if you live in the United States. So let's build a constructor. I see here public person and then string social and then decimal SAL for salary. Let's set these fields inside the constructor. So this dot SSN equals social and then this dot salary equals sal. Okay, so the constructor will be used to set these. Okay. Now, everybody pretty much is a person. Pretty much everybody, assuming you live in the United States, has a social security number and some kind of salary. Okay, so I've put this all the way at the top of the hierarchy here in the person class. Alright, now after that, let's create a property. So public decimal get salary. This would be just to show you that you can do that, get, and then return this dot salary like this. Okay, you don't have to have the set. The get can be used by itself. So that looks like this. That will get the salary. Alright, let's see what else. Let me delete this code. Now we're going to make a new class called employer. Now the employer, a person, I'm thinking of an employer here as a person, not a corporation, is a kind of person, so it would be somewhat natural to derive this from the person class. So you're going to say class and then employer and then person, like this. Now you're going to say private string EIN, employer identification number. That's a refinement over the generic person class. Okay, most people have an SSN, but to have an EIN you have to be usually an employer of some kind. Okay, so it's a fairly reasonable assumption or a refinement of the class. Now you're going to type public employer here and then string empid, comma, and then string social, and then comma, and then decimal sal. And now what I'm going to do is show you how you can call the base class constructor when it's parameterized. So put a colon, then base, comma, base parentheses social, comma, and then sal. Okay, so this will call the base class constructor the social and salary. It's going to initialize those in the top. However, if you want, you can split this up, and the EIN can be initialized only here. So you can type this.EIN equals, and now you can type here empid and close that with a semicolon. You see? So part of the initialization of this employer object here can be done in the person class. As you see up above, the things that are common to everybody, and then you can make a refinement down below in the employer constructor. So that it all looks like that. You see? All right. Now we can, add a specific property to retrieve this. So public here string get empid like this, and here we will say get and return this dot EIN. Okay. That's specific to the employer class, it goes there. Alright, now here we're going to type a class program, open close braces. Let me turn off the capitalization here. There we go. So static void main. Now you're going to say the following. First we'll just go with direct approach, employer, correct? So emp1 equals new. employer. Then you're going to specify. So this is the EIN here. Make up some number. Doesn't really matter that much what it is for our purposes. Comma, make up the person now. You know, I'm thinking of a person, okay, as an employer, or an employer as a person also. Make up some fake number there, and then comma, and then say make up some salary and close up the semicolon. That. Now you're going to say console.writeLine, and here the salary is placeholder, comma, and then emp1 dot, and then get salary and close out with the semicolon, and then console.writeLine, and the EIN is placeholder, comma, emp1 dot, and then get empid, close out with the semicolon, and then console.readLine, read. Remember, for our purposes, we're using those to hold the screen open, nothing else. Alright, so that looks like this. Let's give this a build. And debug, start without debugging here. Notice it says the salary is 67,000, the EIN is whatever I typed. There you go. You should also have, you know, perhaps up here, a property that will get the SSN. That's for you to add in as a separate project. We figured out how to do that, although it's very straightforward here. Now, if you go debug and step into here, if you go through the process of building this object, you're going to make a new employer. Part of this is calling the base class constructor with those values specified, as you can see, like that. And then finishing up the construction of the object down below in the employer constructor. And then those two pieces give you the whole EMP1. If you expand it, you see this? It says get employee ID is part of it, EIN is part of it, and the base is salary and SSN, you see? There you go. And then you can get the salary, get the empid from the employer class. And that works as expected, right? There you go. So that's all good. We can break up a definition over multiple classes. There you go. Now, on the other hand, what if you decide, well, all I want to do is focus on those aspects of an employer that make him a person, for example. Okay? We're reducing it. So on the left side, you can type person, like that. On the right side, you can type as person, like that. Okay? And notice that immediately, once you do this new employee here as a person, you see where it says get empid? You see that? It doesn't contain a definition, because now if you let's give it a build, expand the errors window here, and you see there's no definition, because now on the right side it is true that it's an employer that we are making, but on the left side the type is a person. So that means this functionality that we added here that was specific to the employer is inaccessible now. Okay, so what we can do is take this line, remove it, build this again. Okay, so now it seems to be okay. Let's go debug and step into. I mean, this process is subtle, but it's interesting. There you go. So it's going to build the social and the salary, and then it will build the empid. So if you expand this object now, as you can see, you have, as I said, the salary. Those are no longer considered in the base class now, right? You see that? It doesn't say base anymore. They just directly are accessible. Whereas the EIN now is under sample.employer, you see? So those have been switched around a little. Okay? You can still call that, and then you can read, you see? There you go. So one more time now. You can see what happens if we just have two of these, whether that's allowed. Okay, so that is not. You see this? It says does not contain a constructor that takes two arguments. Okay, so the new employer is the constructor for the employer class. That. On the left side, however, you have a person, which means if you have some need of treating an employer as a person only, you can do that. as I've shown you here, but keep in mind that the functionality is specific to the employer, at least in the simple example that we have made. Okay, as I've shown you here, becomes unavailable, and you can split the definition, the constructor operations, over two separate classes. The base class initialize those things that are common to every person, and then the emp ID can be initialized also in the constructor for the employer class, like that. And to call the parameterized constructor in the parent class, use base and then the two values that you want to pass into it, like that. And that is it for this video. So thanks very much, guys, and I'll see you in another video. And the process of treating this new employer as a person is called as upcasting.